Hello, and welcome to the Being Human podcast, where we explore what it means to truly be human, physically, mentally, and spiritually. We're going to be uploading one of these things every single week throughout 2024, so hit that subscribe button. You do not want to miss any of these episodes. On this 9th episode of the Being Human podcast, we had a little bit of a different setting. It was never going to be long before Being Human went rural, and I ventured out into the woods to find Scotland's #1 javelin thrower, Greg Millar. He has actually been Scotland's #1 javelin thrower for the past 10 years or so. He is also an avid outdoorsman, for lack of a better term. Greg routinely goes off into the woods, sets up camp, doesn't even have a tent with him, just makes a shelter out of what is around him, sets up a fire, which he starts from scratch, and cooks his dinner on it, and then he'll stay out there all night long. In the cold. He's doing it right now in January. It's bitterly cold at the moment. He's done it through thunderstorms. He's done it out in the wilderness of Scotland, where he's from. And he actually proposed that rather than doing it in the setting of the studio, where we usually film these episodes, that I go out and visit him the morning after he had spent one of his nights in the woods. Sounds a bit suspicious. I was slightly worried that I was going to be hacked up by his wood chopping axe, dismembered and put onto his campfire, but it all went quite well. We discussed, first and foremost, his athletic career, how he got into javelin throwing, what's made him so successful. He shared some really important mindsets, some habits. He shared a really unique sleep habit that he actually had for one of his javelin throwing seasons that he said he actually had a lot of success with, which was really intriguing. He also shared his 3 top exercises to help you throw further. Who doesn't want to be able to have a good throw on them? Everyone, right? And also as well, all the outdoors stuff he does, why he does them. Some tips for people who may want to get into that kind of thing. Really cool conversation. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hit that follow button and hit 5 stars, whatever the mechanism is on those platforms. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting Being Human. So first of all, thank you for welcoming me to your humble abode. I obviously want to get onto all of that, all of this, why you do it, how you do it, and all of that stuff. But let's start from the beginning. When and where was the Greg Millar born? I was going to say conceived. We don't need to know that.
Conceived.
We don't need to know that. Born is enough.
I was born in Aberdeen, in Scotland, in December '92.
Something nice.
So yeah. Wow.
And what were the early years like? Because to me, Scotland is like this. You're born somewhere halfway up a mountain, and you're living out in the sticks.
So we
for most of your life.
We kind of lived in a little village, like 44 houses. Went to a very small primary school. Didn't actually do too much sport in Scotland. Just like your normal sort of primary school stuff. Did some curling. But that was about it, really. You know, your normal sports days. And that was about it. But yeah, we always used to go on holidays, and we're very active on holidays. My dad was like a scout leader. He started scouts in our area, and he kind of.
Okay, so is that where
sort
this
of
kind of came from?
He kind of his sort of ideal for the scouts was that you don't sit and learn how to tie knots and read maps in a room because it's boring. So we'd go out on camps all the time. We'd learn to kayak, we'd learn to climb, you'd learn how to tie knots, set up tents, make fires, like actually out there doing it, rather than learning how to tie a knot inside a room that you might never use. And then we obviously used to go a lot of fishing holidays and stuff as well, which is good fun.
Nice.
Yeah, it wasn't until I moved to England I started doing a bit more sport.
When did you move to England?
When I was about 11 or 12. We moved down because my dad lost his job and he got a job down south in Nottingham. And then we obviously made some family friends and they played cricket. So we went and played cricket, started off doing that. And then after a while, I think we did some javelin in school. I threw it further than everyone else. I threw it over the teacher's head as well. And then after that, joined the local club, which is in Mansfield. So it was Mansfield Harriers at the time.
And how old were you when the javelin throwing began?
I was about 15-ish, so quite late, really. Most athletes would start like in primary school or early high school, they'll already be doing it.
Yeah, because I had this preconception, like I said, that you were out in the sticks in Scotland throwing javelins like a Viking when you were 4 years old.
Oh, that'd be great, but no.
No, that's not how it
No,
happens.
I actually didn't know. See, I didn't really start throwing until I was 15, and then that was only just for like school things, so like once a year, like not actually being a javelin thrower. It wasn't until I went to, or like in sixth form, so like my last year in sixth form, I was probably a javelin thrower, or training like twice a week as a kid, properly. And then when I went to uni, that's probably when it properly started.
And was it Loughborough Uni?
No, I went to Brunel University at
Okay.
first to do physiotherapy. So I went down there to London, changed course after my first year because I didn't have enough time to train and manage my studies. Just couldn't manage it. So I did sports science, mainly because I knew it was going to be an easy route. So I took an easy option. But I got a job at the same time, so I was working in a restaurant every night. Paid off all of my debts from the year before and the year that I changed course.
Wow, that's a very prudent move as a student.
And yeah, so I think I returned like $3,000 of my loan because it was cheaper then. And then for physio, you don't pay course fees, so I just repaid my maintenance loan,
Wow,
which I should have probably just kept.
No.
Could do it for that now.
Now that we're homeless in the woods. What was it like living in London?
Well, it's kind of like Brunel. I really liked it actually. It was kind of like
Did you?
it's a campus uni. It's smaller than the likes of Loughborough Uni, and you're kind of outside of London. You're inside the M25. It's in Uxbridge. So there's not really much there. But if you wanted to pop into London, you could. For me, I was quite happy staying on campus because I had all the sport, I had loads of friends, loads of social activities there, but almost no outdoor activities, like outside of athletics and stuff. Like I wasn't going fishing as much. I'd do that when I went home over the summer. But no, I actually quite liked it there. It was really good. But then it's your first uni, you're going to meet loads of people and you're going to enjoy it anyway.
No.
So.
Because obviously I always compare it to my experience. Obviously, my experience was living slap bang in the centre of London and working there, so a bit different.
Yeah, the middle's very different to the outside, I think. It's not... It's what you make of it as well. Anything's a good place, anything's a bad place, depending on how you look at it.
I like that. I like that perspective.
Like out here, it's great right now. It's lovely. We've made a fire, we've made tents and stuff. It's great. But if you have nothing and you don't make anything off it, there's shit out here. There's nothing to do. There's literally nothing to do. There's fuck all. There's like nothing. So like it'd be shit, but it's not because you enjoy it and you make it what you want. So any situation's got something good out of it. Pretty much. So,
yeah, I agree with that perspective.
So yeah, I did enjoy it there, but then yeah, I just looked at the positive side. I don't really look at negatives that much.
You do strike me as that.
There's nothing you can do about it. It's like the saying, like the whole. Can you control it? Yes. Okay, do something about it. Change it. Can you control it? No. Okay, fine. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that's it, God. It's gone. You just step straight past it because there's nothing you can do about it. So why does it matter?
Yeah. Are you familiar with Stoicism?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Mainly from your last podcast.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to start saying it about every guest, but you are generally another one of those people.
I actually
I
didn't realise it originated in Greece. I thought it was a very sort of Viking Scottish term.
Okay.
To be a Stoic character.
I have not that I've met loads of Scotsmen, but it does seem to be much more of a character trait in Scottish people than in English people, from my experience.
Yeah.
That Stoic nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that's something?
I don't know.
To do with the land of Scotland, the history, the culture.
Probably the culture, but also because of the population. It's a much smaller population, and you find that the further north you go, or further south, I guess, the less people there are, the less they kind of talk shit. There's less bullshit. It's just you kind of say what you need to say, and that's it. You don't need to say anything else, which is quite common. I think it's quite common in Scandinavian countries as well. There's not like loads and loads of chat. It's just like you say what you need to do, or say that's it, and then there's no other. You don't need to mix your words up. Say it how it is. And that's good enough. You don't need to sugarcoat stuff.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't like something that's true, then they don't like it. It's not like you have to deal with it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and I think that it's refreshing when you come across these people, because I think in England or the Western world, in large, it's very much the opposite. people talk a lot.
Yeah.
They talk a lot, but don't necessarily say a lot in what they say and what they talk about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lots of things are sugar coated, hidden inside lies of another lie, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's one thing we sort of noticed when we moved to England. Actually, people talk a lot differently. There's a lot more chitter chat, and then just being straight to the point, which I guess can come across kind of shitty, but
being straight to the point.
Some people can take it the wrong way.
Yeah, I think so. But then I think that's just because we've got caught up in this world where people can't say things to the point. To go back to that point, we talk a lot and don't necessarily say a lot, and it just ends up being verbal diarrhea a lot of the time, and there's not much actually communicated of real meaning.
Yeah, it can be, yeah.
So you're in uni in Brunel, you're throwing whilst you're working and studying. Yep. And what's that like? What's the training like? How seriously are you taking it? How many competitions a year are you doing? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I was taking it probably pretty seriously then. I actually like focusing everything around it. So like training before studying, sort of.
Training before procrastinating.
Yeah, but no, yeah, I was taking it pretty seriously. Like I'd try to eat well and all that sort of stuff then. I was quite lucky actually. I got a sports scholarship when I went there, and I lived with some other athletes, which were very good athletes. So a lot of them were kind of my age when they came, but there was a few others. The decathlete was called Ashley Bryant. I lived with him, and he was, I don't really use role model, but he was really helpful to live with somebody like that because he had all of that sort of in place already, like eating properly, training hard, and the decathletes do 10 events, so they're training 5-6 hours a day, which is what I did in my first year at uni, which helped massively towards just building a really good base. So that really set it up quite well. And
the training, what goes into the training?
You got really a lot.
Because I imagine you've obviously got the actual throwing itself, and then you've got accessory strength and conditioning work.
So you got like loads of your strength and conditioning stuff. So you have like actual weight session to build like your hypertrophy and strength, power. You'll have sprint sessions for running. You'll have your plyometric sessions for your power. You should do more flexibility sessions as well. Obviously not.
But nobody ends up doing those, unfortunately. Speaking from personal
then you've obviously got like your
experience.
throwing. And then I used to always like doing some different training that didn't feel like training. But I didn't really do that until my final year at uni. In my final year, I was like, it's my last year at uni. I might not get these opportunities again. So I joined what we had was like a trampolining and gymnastics club. But we didn't have any like gymnastics stuff. It was just like one blow up track. So it's like a trampoline. It's kind of like a blow up castle that you see at fairs, but it's just a long thing, so you can just bounce and do stuff on it. And then they had 2 good trampolines, so I did that. And then I also joined the handball team because that transfer as well. Jan Zalesny, who's world record holder of Javelin, used to do it a little bit. So I was like, I'm gonna give that a shot. Loved it. It was great fun. So I was kind of doing like lots of different training as well as like your normal sort of training. And I found that was quite a good way. I could still recover from that because it didn't feel like training. It was kind of more of an active way of just having fun.
Active recovery.
Yeah. Even if it was like hard work, like you don't feel, or you don't associate that with being tired. You just kind of go and do it for fun.
Yeah, because you don't have the mental fatigue from it, do you? In the same way that you would.
Whereas if you like hype up like a big session, then you will feel fatigued after it. Whereas like sometimes if you say, for example, you're going to go and do 10 60-meter sprints, you're like, right, this is a big session. We're going to have to go max out here. But if you go and play handball, you're going to be running up and down the court as fast as you can. How many times? Like for an hour?
Yeah.
Like, how's that not any harder? So like, but you don't feel that bad after it. You kind of just go out, you're having fun. So, but I was taking it quite seriously. I think the competitions usually at that point I was probably doing somewhere between 10 to 20 in the summer. So mostly like every weekend.
Because that's how the season runs with Javelin, right?
Yeah.
The season's in the summer.
You're sort of looking at like April for an early start, and then August, and then September for a late finish.
And is that because of the actual season? Because the wind speeds are lower?
It's just the way it is. It's kind of like cricket. Cricket has its season, which is summer. Same for athletics, much like rugby and football have their seasons. It's just the way it is. I don't think anybody's ever thought about it being changed. Athletics obviously has their indoor season, but I can't really do that. So, not that I'm bothered about not doing that.
And with the competitions in university, your seasons throughout the summer, how are you doing?
I was doing all right then. Before I went to uni, I said to my English teacher at the time, who was Scottish, that I was going to be the best thrower in Scotland.
You said that
I
before
said
you went
that.
to
I was like,
university.
I'm gonna
I
do
love
it
that.
before I go, and I did. Won Scottish champs that year, became the best thrower. Didn't progress the next year, but I'd put on like something like 13 kilos, not of fat. Like I'd put on 30 kilos of like because I was
Good tissue.
training so much. Like didn't improve, but got more consistent. The year after that, improved a lot, and then I've improved pretty much every year since.
And you've been the number one thrower in Scotland how many years?
10, 11, 12,
Yeah,
something like that.
A lot.
Yeah, I've won Scottish champs every year since I was a senior. So that would have been 2011 or 12.
So you've
Obviously
pretty much
missing one
dominated the
because
past
it wasn't.
decade.
Just because one wasn't because of COVID, and then I didn't do last year because of my shoulder. But yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and I do want to get to the shoulder in a bit.
Shoulder.
But yeah, continuing in chronological order.
Hmm.
You finish university, graduate university. What
Yep.
happens after that?
So I obviously graduated Brunel. When I had finished, we had like a month extra left on our like tenancy. So I stuck around a bit because one of my mates was, and we decided to do our sports massage therapy course there, which is a week intensive course from like 9 till 5, Monday through Sunday. So we did that, did our coursework, passed that, and at the same time I was sort of organising.
How many weeks does that take, sorry?
1 week.
One
it was
week.
1 full week when I did it. And
that must be a very intensive week.
It was actually, yeah,
through
but it wasn't too bad. I'd done like a degree, I'd done physio
you've
for
got
a
the
year, so I had
backing of
like
sports
backing
science.
knowledge, so it wasn't
Yeah.
too bad. The prerequisite was that you were doing or had done a sports science or related course.
No one off the street could just walk in and start rubbing people down.
It was done at the uni, but it's not done by the uni. It was a different company.
Okay.
But after doing that, I came to Loughborough to do my masters, which is in sports biomechanics, because I found out I enjoyed that way more than physio. In my final year, I did all my projects and stuff on that. So I came up to Loughborough for that. My coach was also here. I split my masters over 3 years because my aim was to go to the Commonwealth Games, and I had to decide quite early on that I would split it so that I would have enough time to try and do it, because you do your thesis over the summer, so I had to let them know like a lot in advance that I wasn't going to be doing it the first year or the second year, so that I could not worry about doing my thesis while I was trying to.
So you can focus on training, basically, competing.
Can't remember what it was. I think it was the year before the qualification for that. I think I ruptured my ankle, just warming up, which is unfortunate. But I still threw that year. Like it was kind of okay. I'm
guessing you can kind of make do.
Yeah, it
was a lower body injury more than an upper body one.
I might not have PB'd that year, but like I threw pretty close to PB. Like it wasn't like I'd had a terrible year. And then the year after that, I kept competing. Everything was fine. Graduated from my masters in December 2018. Competed that year as normal, and then obviously COVID came and changed a few things. I got PB after COVID actually, just because I wasn't allowed to work, so I could train. They didn't have access to train anywhere, but I'd go out and train as much as I could.
Where would you train?
Just shit anywhere and everywhere. There was a cricket club I was going to throw javelins now and then, which conveniently got worse and worse every time I tried to go because they kept locking stuff up, even though the guys that worked there said I could. And then I'd go to like different parks if I was doing different sessions in the day around where I lived, so that nobody could be like, "Oh, I've seen you doing your hours training or your hours exercise." And then I'd just find somewhere to go out and do it, come rain or shine.
And no members of the public were impaled with the javelin?
No, so like I wouldn't just be doing it. I'd only throw once a week at that point. So I'd only throw on a Sunday, and I'd be up at the cricket club. I wouldn't do anything else. But all the other days I'd try and do bits. My housemate helped me quite a lot. He got some like jail weights, you can say. So I got loads of dumb videos of me doing jail weights with like bands, trying to make stuff harder, doing walking lunges outside the front of the house with these like homemade wooden squat
Everyone had
with
to
a bar that
improvise.
bent.
Yeah, I was shadowboxing on a golf course, so
yeah, that's a drug to be fair. But I enjoyed it because I wasn't allowed to work, so I had time. Sucked not having access to facilities when other people did. But again, I can't affect it. I can't do anything about it. So I'll just do what I can with what I've got. And do you know what? It made me build up quite resilience to training. I trained in whatever the weather was. My first throwing session that year was in the snow. Still went out and did it because I said, no, I'm going to do it. This is the time I don't need to do my first session. And it was fun. And then conveniently, when I then got back allowed access to the track, people wouldn't go out and train when it was like 10 degrees, sunny, because it's too cold. And I'm out there in a shorts and t-shirt thinking, this is a shit. I've got a track here. This isn't thrown on grass. My feet will stay on the floor. It was all right. So yeah, that was a good year after that. After COVID, I got my first British Champs medal. I got a bronze that year with a PB, which is pretty good. And then...
So that was the first time you medalled at British Champs?
Yeah, it was the first time I medalled British Champs. And then after that, I was allowed to start working again, and then started working more. Got a job in the gym with Nathan, which you then joined us.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which was good fun. And then I'm still doing my massage business at work. So that's pretty much where that's all gone. Now, I did also do my level 4 massage therapy course as well, sort of just after / during COVID, because I didn't get the government funding that you'd normally get, but I got some help like a year after COVID had started, so I was able to use that to pay for a level 4 course. So I did that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this year, because you medalled at the British Champs. What year was that?
I was like 21, I think.
21, so that was 2 years ago. How did you do 2022?
I got norovirus from a client in the gym 1 week before, lost 8 kilos overnight, so I didn't do British Champs last year. But I did win Scottish Champs, which was like a month and a half after that. Yeah, there was no British Champs last year. And then no British Champs this year.
Yeah. Let's get into that. So, why no British Champs this year?
So I was cycling home. Was it 1 week? Yeah, it was a Saturday before. The next Saturday would have been British Champs. Cycling home. I was probably like a minute away from the house. Somebody pulled out in front of me. I swerved to avoid them. Locked my front tyre up to try and not hit them. Came off my bike, landed on my shoulder unluckily, and dislocated my clavicle, or my acromioclavicle joint, rupturing 3 ligaments.
So you fully tore. The full name for the ACJ is the acromioclavicular.
Acromioclavicular, yeah.
Acromioclavicular. So
that popped out.
Yeah.
So if your shoulder's like this, it's like there. Mine was like, yeah. So yeah, that was good fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of shit timing. Could have been a week later, but that's what it is.
Yeah. So literally the week before the British Champs, which is like the kind of the pinnacle of your season.
Yep.
The pinnacle of your competitive year.
Yep.
You obviously have something that's completely outside of your control.
Yep.
Taken away from you.
Yep.
Talk me through the physical process of the injury, rehabbing it, and the early days of it, but also as well the mental journey of it as well. How do you deal with something like that? Because obviously you couldn't work either. You couldn't massage.
Yeah, so I couldn't work. I could sort of work in the gym, but that isn't really enough to pay much. It's sort of just enough to cover like rent, not bills, not food or anything. So yeah, I also couldn't work, being self-employed. You're ill, you're injured, you don't get paid. So that it cost quite a lot, I think, in the end. Like I couldn't work for about 3 months, so it probably cost me somewhere between 4 to 6 grand of my nice savings. That just disappeared. Cost for MRI, obviously. Luckily, I'm not on funding for anything for Scottish Athletics or British Athletics. I'm not a good enough athlete for that, so everything was self-funded. Luckily, because I used to work for Loughborough Uni doing some therapy, they were very, very helpful. So they gave me some free physio sessions and then helped me get the MRI like the Wednesday after doing it on the Saturday. They set me up with a meeting with a well-known doctor in the area who deals with like rugby shoulders who have done the same injury. And that managed to go through the NHS, thankfully, because he was willing to help me out, which was really helpful. But that was like the first week or so. I was told I had to be in a sling for 3 weeks, but I didn't really want to do that. I think I was in the sling for I don't know, a week, and then I was taking it in and out of the sling as much as I could. Not loads, not without reason, but
Yeah, because I did the
to
same
try and
injury,
keep
like
it
less
moving.
severe.
Yeah.
But I did the same thing. They gave me a sling, and they told me I just did it all through NHS, and they told me to wear it for 2 months.
Yeah.
Which wasn't going to happen. But yeah, I took it out just to try and get some movement and just
I
still
also
make
felt
sure
really
I supported
uncomfortable
it.
in the sling. Like, it didn't want to be held there. It wanted to be held like there.
Yeah.
And there's not really a sling to hold you there that they wouldn't give me. They also discharged me improperly. They were meant to send me to fracture clinic, but they didn't bother because they thought that I knew what I was dealing with and I'd be able to sort it. But just because I knew what it was didn't mean that. But whatever, innit? That's fine.
Well, my fracture clinic, all they told me to do was keep it moving and keep pushing the range of motion without it hurting,
pretty much. I mean, with my line of work, I kind of knew all the stuff like that anyway. So I was always just going to do that. So I did. But I cracked on as soon as I could. I was throwing balls within 3 weeks when I should have still been in a sling. Like balls that weighed like nothing, like they almost floated in the air.
Kind of like the play pit.
Yeah, like play pit balls, pretty much. Yeah. Just for the range of movement, and then obviously kept trying to do as much training as I could. I couldn't squat. I couldn't put a bar on my back. So even training legs was hard. Doing knee extensions, I couldn't put enough weight on it because I couldn't hold myself down. So I'd like fling off the chair. Yeah. So I was getting bands and like strapping myself in with like resistance bands.
I love the innovation.
And then I was using occlusion cuffs so that I could restrict the blood flow, so you don't have to train as heavy and get the same benefit. And then I was just doing anything and everything that I could, because I didn't have anything else to do. And it's fun, like, you know, I enjoy training. So why would I stop training just because I'm injured? If anything, if you're injured, you should train more properly, not like a mad head. Like if you've broken your back, you don't go and try and like press 300 kilos like 200 times.
Ronnie Coleman does, but
he was on drugs, so nice. No cheating.
Sorry to interrupt. So was surgery on the cards?
It was, yeah. So we went to the surgeon, and we kind of played it as it's improving, so we'll keep letting it improve. If you have surgery, it might make it worse for throwing, and you might make other injuries appear out of nowhere, because it's quite a small and it's a kind of a weird joint. Like it's a joint that's not really, it's like a floating type of joint.
It doesn't really have a function other than to support.
It's got a very, very small range of movement, like millimeters, which is and isn't important. So sorry, is this really emotional for you?
It's
my shoulder's fine.
Tear-inducing story.
I'm fine. It'll be fine.
That's on the fire.
So surgery was sort of maybe on the cards. But
joking aside, it is a bit of a tragic story in the sense that, I mean, that's a tough scenario to be faced with.
Yeah.
Have your season completely wiped out and be in a position where you have to just work through your savings because you're unable to work.
Yeah. But I mean, like, again, semi out of my control. I could do everything I could to train to make it better. And I did, and I was back way faster than I should have been. I still have some problems with it now, like press-ups, bench isn't always that comfortable. But I'm throwing, and I'm throwing quite well. Like, for where we are in the year, we've changed so much technically with my coach this year, because we kind of had to. If we let anything slip, then there's the chance that I'll wreck it again.
And how long now is it since the incident?
I don't even really know, to be honest.
Don't
really count.
6 months?
Maybe something like that, somewhere between 4 and 6. I don't know.
I think, because obviously I know when it happened. Yeah. I think it's about 6 months.
Yeah, probably something like that. Actually, no, it will be, because it was about middle of summer, wasn't it? So
yeah, it was June time.
Yeah,
and you say you're throwing well in terms of PBs, close to PBs.
Mate. What the fuck was that?
To me, that's a javelin. That's a javelin.
Yeah, no, yeah. Throwing actually all right. It's good fun. So yeah, we've changed some stuff. It made me change things quite a lot. The one thing that was really not nice about it, like I say, like every bad situation has something good in it. I couldn't work. I could train, but like it wasn't like I have to train. I have to get this session in. I have to do this session Monday, this session Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was like, right, I'll just do what I can as I can. And that sort of freed up quite a lot of time. So I think it was like September last year. I think I had like a month off with like a week here and there, pretty much. So I managed to go to Scotland with my parents, which with both of them, which I hadn't done for a while. I'd sort of planned to do some stuff for myself so they could still have a holiday. So I'd planned like a 70-mile route and a 40-mile route to just walk and camp and walk and camp and do whatever I wanted. But my dad said he wanted to join me on it. So we picked the smaller route, and it's probably the best trip I've ever had in Scotland. We did 13 miles on the first day. Our feet were fucked. But we had a great spot by a loch. We'd already done all the like climb that day. So it was like all of the ups, all of the downs that day. So we were knackered by the time we were like, there was like, oh, we just need to go a little bit further to get to this spot that looks nice on Google Maps. Obviously, never what it looks like. Had a great time. Second day, we walked 16 miles and we were wrecked. And then we had some extra food with us that we thought we'd have eaten by then. So we split the last day into 2 5-miles. Took our time. My mum met us after the first lot of 5 miles and she brought some food for us when we were fishing. It was just dead nice. And then my friend came up, James. He came up and we had another week there. So I was in Scotland for like 2.5 weeks, which I was on for a while. And we had, again, like one of the best trips ever. It was the first time we went out camping in hammocks. And we camped in this one spot. It's a spoiler, by the way. It's going to be on my YouTube at some point.
Oh, okay, breaking news.
Not really breaking news. But yeah, so we camped on hammocks for 2 nights in the same spot. We ended up having a pet seal for 2 days.
That's cool.
We caught...
Whereabouts in Scotland was this?
It's just on like the west coast, just above Glasgow, pretty much. We caught, I think it was like 110 fish over 2 days. Was insane.
And you ate all those?
No, we threw them all back and we fed the seal. The pet seal. We named him Freddie. It was brilliant.
That's so good. That's like
so many fish.
I can't comprehend. I don't think I've seen a seal in the wilderness before.
Oh, you're gonna have to wait for videos,
so
mate.
The fact that you like adopted it as a
seal,
and fed it
pretty
fish
much almost petting it. Yeah.
That's cool.
In fact, there was sea urchins there, so I ate a sea urchin, which is a very interesting flavour.
You ate a sea urchin?
Yeah.
What does it taste like?
It's kind of like, it's like fruity and it's like a custardy texture, and then it's like really fishy, but like not in a gross way. Not like fish and chips fishy, like seafood. It's really seafoody,
like oystery.
Yeah,
mussels.
She's like, no, it's actually really nice. We ate loads of that trip, had a great time. So yeah, like if I hadn't bust up my shoulder, that would not have happened. Me and my dad usually go away for 1 week every year to the same spot, but if it wasn't for my shoulder, I wouldn't have done that. So, like, some good really did come out of it.
There's always a silver lining.
And then that sort of pushed me to do it more and more. Got in touch with friends more. I also kind of started seeing things a bit differently. Like, when you're an athlete, you miss out a lot. You miss out on weddings. You miss out on birthdays. You miss out on going on nights out with your friends. I've lost loads of friends because of athletics, because I don't do the same things as them. And you say no to somebody a few times, they're not going to invite you again, which is obvious. Like, that's fair. If I invited you out to do something 7 or 8 times and you said no every time, why would I invite you again? Likewise, if you invited me to come and do some wrestling every now and then, I'd be like, not a chance, mate. Not a fucking chance.
And I might stop asking after the...
And then you'd stop asking, wouldn't
time.
you? So, which makes sense. But it also, like, so, example this year, with a little bit more time on my hands, one of my mates was like, oh, someone's dropped out of a squid fishing trip down in Weymouth. And originally I said, no, I can't. I've got to work. I've got to try and make my money back. And then, because I had clients booked in the day they were leaving. And then I was actually, as soon as I put the phone down, I was like, actually, do you know what? No, I'm not going to get this chance again. He's not going to invite me again. So I will go. I'll change my clients, because great thing about working for yourself. I'll cancel a training session, because it's one training session. I don't mind too much. I went down and we had a great time. I got really ill, but like, that's not the point. But
how many squid did
we had
you
a great
catch?
time. I didn't catch any squid.
Did anyone catch any squid?
Dan caught 2 squid.
So you at least got to see a squid.
I caught a fish, and then I caught my first ever eel. So that was kind of cool. I didn't blank. So I caught a fish each day. We fished 2 days, and I caught a fish each day. But no, it was a good laugh with some lads, made some new friends. And it's kind of given me that, like, do something with your life outside of your life. Which is why I come out and do stuff like this as much as I can every now and then. It's also a good reset. When you're out here, you can switch off from everything. So you've got like work problems, you've got studying problems, you've got training problems, relationship problems, anything. You come out here and you're focusing on what's going on in the moment. The same thing that you should do when you're doing your sport or your training. When you're training for an hour, you don't need to worry about your car insurance that you need to sort out later because it's due tomorrow. You should be focusing on that session. It's something that actually helped me a lot during uni. I trained my best during exams and I competed my best during exams because I set time aside to be off and on from sport. So like in my final year at uni, I didn't have a normal sleep pattern. I'd get up at like 7. I'd go training. I'd come back, have breakfast, shower, have a nap. Then I'd get up, have lunch, then either go training or do some work again. And then I'd come back, have a nap, and then I'd be back to the library from like 9 p.m. till about 5 in the morning. And I did that for like a month.
Yeah, and you
So
feel that was a good routine.
Oh, it was fine. I got like 99% of my dissertation from undergrad.
Yeah, wow. That's really interesting.
It actually worked. I was sleeping when I was tired, not when it was time to go to bed. Albeit some of the times in the library we were messing around doing handstands for as long as we could, just to make it less boring. But you got the work done, and it did work. But like that way, you can really like switch off and then you switch back on. It's like having like a rest week, but in one day, so you can forget about everything.
Yeah, you've been talking about resets again. You benefit each time you wake up. You benefit from that reset. Just woken up.
Yeah, pretty much. It's difficult to do it sometimes because it's very easy to get caught in the motion. It's very easy to just go day to day, like through a routine and get into a habit. Whereas if you try and break it and stuff, then you can sort of be like, oh, okay, right, no, I do need to work harder here. I'm not really pushing myself. I'm kind of just going through the motions all the time. Sometimes that's all right. Turn up to a session every now and then, yeah, you're going to be tired. And yeah, you can sometimes just go through the motions, but you can't do that all the time. Otherwise, you're just going to be average, and you don't want to just be average. If you want to be the best, or if you want to do better, you have to be above average in not every training session, but above the average amount of training sessions.
That's a really good point that I've never actually really thought of before.
If you train 7 days a week, 7 out of 7 don't have to be 100%. 4 out of 7 need to be 100%, but the other 3 you can hit or miss. You can have a 0% one day. Just means you got to do like a couple of good ones the days after. You can have a week like that. Your meso or macro cycle or micro cycle can be completely different, but you can't have less than 50% sessions being good sessions.
Yeah, if you want to be above average, then when the year's all said and done, your training sessions, your average training session had to be an above average performance.
Yes. Not even performance, it could be reps, weights, sets, runs, effort, but anything. If you're next to one guy and he's rolling for an hour and you guys do the same sessions every week, how are you going to get better if you're just doing the same thing? Should you do like an extra 10 minutes? Should you rest a little less? Like, what are you going to do to make sure you're better than, say this person is your identical twin. What are you going to do to be better? Are you going to slack off when you feel tired? Or sometimes you go in and just, tank a few Red Bulls and just send it, Or like, are you just going to be like, oh, I'm tired today? Because you'll feel tired tomorrow as well if you keep thinking you're tired. You can switch it off.
That's it. Tiredness there's physical tiredness and there's mental tiredness, isn't there?
Yeah.
And you can push through mental tiredness. You can push through physical tiredness as well, but it does come a point where you obviously have to rest and recover.
Mental tiredness is probably harder to fix.
Yeah.
That's the one you don't notice is happening as much. Because you just think, oh, I just feel tired. Last night, but I probably didn't sleep well last night. I've had some of my best sessions and competitions off of like 2 hours sleep. Actually, it's funny because it was the first year I won the British University Championship. So I was sharing with a room with my mate Ashley Bryant, the decathlete. He was proper sad, and he knew I was competing the next day. And he's like, oh, when do you want to go to bed? Because I know you're competing tomorrow. And then I was like, does it really matter? Like, I don't usually sleep that well before a comp anyway. And he was like, no, you're right. it doesn't matter how well you sleep the day before. It matters how well you sleep the 4 days before, because that means that you will be recovered. If you don't sleep for a whole night before you compete, it's fine. And then that also sets you in the mentality of like, because this actually happened a few years ago. I was in Cardiff, staying at a hotel, as you do. You can't control a lot of things in a hotel. You can't control hen do's. You can't control stag do's, weddings, parties, anything. And they're going to be at hotels. So what are you going to do? It's going to keep you up all night. You either decide it's going to mentally affect you, or you remember that it doesn't matter how well I sleep tonight, I'll still do all right tomorrow because I've slept well the last few nights. And it actually worked. I had one of my best competitions that season because of that. So like you can just sort of fix yourself, kind of. If that makes sense.
That's another gem that I'm going to take away from today and apply to my own preparation for competition. It's all right if you sleep like crap the night before, as long as you slept well the 4 days before.
Well, I think like usually, obviously, your emotions are quite high the day before a comp as well. So the odds of you actually sleeping well are quite slim.
The adrenaline's going.
Yeah, like you're already buzzing about the next day.
Best performances when you have so little sleep, because you're in such a state of alert.
Yeah,
your body hasn't wound down. Sorry.
Yeah, so like sometimes actually it works really well. Like it's quite. It's a weird way of trying to say believe in yourself. And then if you actually believe you can do it, you probably can. Obviously, like within reason. Don't go and believe that you're going to run 100 meters faster than Usain Bolt the next day after having a few tinnies the night before. Like, it's not going to happen. But like a realistic goal, yeah, you can smash that. Doesn't matter how tired you are, as long as you're like physically fine. Tiredness is, you could sort of say that's slightly mental as well, instead of just physical. Because if you fueled yourself well, you're physically prepared. Like my calf muscle doesn't know if I'm tired. My brain's telling me I'm tired. So if I fueled my muscles well, I can kind of do what I want. Signals might not go as fast, but like you can still do all right. You can have an above average session or competition or anything, depending on like how you perceive yourself. And sometimes you have to turn it on, because if you're a British champs, for example, or like a final, you have to. You don't get that choice. So you have to just perform regardless of conditions.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That I think that's the mindset you need to have if you want to be above average, and especially if you want to be great at anything. The stars aligning, that's going to happen once, twice. Maybe it'll happen a lot if you're really lucky. But more often than not, when you really need to perform, things are not going to be perfect. Far from it, oftentimes. And you've got to find a way to be able to lock in, keep that belief.
Yeah.
And get the job done regardless.
Yeah, so obviously slightly different for our sports. You're a 1-to-1. A competition for me, I'm a 1v12 or 1v11 if I'm in the final. In fact, the year I got a medal at British Champs, the weather was horrendous. Like it was just sucked. But like I remember one of the other lads who was a better thrower than me. I think his PB was 76 at the time. Mine was 71 low, I think. He was like, I wish we'd change ends so we could throw with the wind. And like, my immediate reply was like, shut up, mate. Just shut up. We're all here to compete. We're all in the same condition. It doesn't fucking matter.
Gave him a big Scottish.
Doesn't matter. I literally did. I just came out of it. And we were like, so for athletics, you know, they've got like the TV lineup. It was in that. He said it. And like, we were like 10th and 11th in the back. And he's like, it's so windy today. And I was like, shut up, mate. It's a competition. We're here to do this. He threw rubbish. He threw like 61 meters. After a PB that day.
Because he was focused on what's wrong.
Yeah. And I was like, no, do you know what? Like,
it's outside his control.
It's different for us. Like, do you know, if we're at a competition where it doesn't matter so much, it's an open competition or a club competition. Nobody cares if you win those. It doesn't mean anything. You don't get anything really. But you're there to usually try and PB to get to a bigger comp. So those ones, yes, it does matter a bit more if you've got the right conditions. But if you're at the major champs, it doesn't matter. You're all in the same conditions. You all have to compete well that day. So that's the only thing that matters.
In that regard,
exactly.
When it comes to the weather.
If everybody's out playing golf on the same day, they all have the same conditions. You have to deal with it. You just have to crack on and do the best you can do. Also, I can't control what other people can do, so what do I care? I can control what I can do in a competition. I can do my best.
And I guess that's maybe the freeing thing about sports such as javelin. Say it's all down to you. And what I mean by that is, like I said, a sport like grappling, I could have like my best performance ever, but then I'm against someone else who did something just a bit weird, or they're having their best performance too, and I end up losing. Whereas, if you, all you have to control is you. If you throw well and you throw your best, and you know you're the best thrower there,
Mm-hmm.
then regardless of how everyone else does, you've hit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
An objective. I'm not sure about the measurement, 70 meters, 80 meters, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You've hit that. So it really is all down to you in that regard.
Yeah.
Not that other sports aren't. They of course are.
Yeah.
But you've got some variables taken away.
It's very, very quantifiable in athletics.
Yeah.
You have a number next to your name after you've done what you've done. You don't get that in other sports. You don't get it in team sports. You don't get it in like boxing 1v1s. You get numbers, but that's not a personal best.
It's not an objective metric.
It's not. It's more qualitative. They put a quantifiable number on it, yes, but you can't then go and say that, oh yeah, I got a PB against that guy. I punched him in the head 25 times.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. He could have been shit.
And like you say,
it doesn't.
Both have their pros and cons, don't they?
Yeah,
in terms of how you can think about them. It can be very freeing in one sense, but then I guess can also be very pressurizing in another sense, knowing it does come down to that metric. It doesn't matter how, how the throw looks, how other people throw. If it's not the furthest, you're not going to win the gold.
Yeah. Equally so, you've also got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have anyone helping you there and then.
Mm-hmm.
You can have your coach in the background, but you have to do it.
He can't throw it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is the same for you. Nobody can really help you. You have to do it.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice. It's nice and it's good and bad. It can be harsh. It can be fair. But it's down to you at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's something I would struggle with in a team sport. That then it is very different in the sense that you have a lot more outside of your control. You've got, if you're on a football team, I'm going to get this wrong, say 11 players on a football team.
Don't watch football, but yeah.
I don't watch football either. But you've got 10 other people on the pitch. He or she's had a bad night's sleep. They've broke up with, their boyfriend, girlfriend, etc. Yeah. There's so much more that's outside of your control, and you're counting on everyone else to be in the same mindset that you are. So yeah, I think I'd really struggle with that, and I imagine a lot of team sports athletes do. So everything, but then again, if you're having one of those bad days, you have people that can pick you up and help you out when you're slacking a bit. So again, it's all pros and cons. It's all pros and cons. But yeah, talking about goals, driving to be the best, the belief in yourself. Coming into this year, what are your plans competitively for this year? And ultimately, what's kind of like the end goal with your javelin throwing career? Do you know when you'll stop throwing? Is that even in your mind yet, or are you just focused on where you want to get to, and where is that ultimate goal?
Sort of yes and no. I guess this year is a bit different, having been like a bad injury. This year is to get back and compete and see how it goes in the first few, and then we'll see how it's going, and we'll push from there, or literally just see how it goes. A goal would be to get to the Commonwealth Games, seeing as I've missed those a few times. That's still a goal to go to. Whether I'll keep throwing after that or not, I don't know. It depends what else happens.
And when's the next Commonwealth?
Like 3 years. I can hear him coming the whole fucking time.
I could hear it. At first I thought it was deer, and I was like, no, it's James.
Oh, Jesus. Nonsense. Yeah, no, I couldn't really... When is it? It is the next 3 years, isn't it? Well, that's if there even is going to be one. Because it's been cancelled, isn't it?
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Australia didn't want to host it, so it's not got a host city at the moment.
Okay.
So...
Right here in Loughborough.
Yeah, no. I think we all want it to be somewhere a bit nicer than that. So... we'll kind of just see how it goes. But yeah, no, that's pretty much the goal. I don't know when I'll stop throwing. That's not an easy question to answer. It is something that's sort of on my mind. Like, you've got like responsibilities in life. Like if I want to get a house or start a family or something, I mean, you can still do that. Like, it's not that bad.
But it is
like that's something that's on your mind.
Yeah.
Don't know how long it'll be. I don't want to put like a number or anything on it because, well, I don't need to. Why should I do that? There's no reason for me to say, oh well, I'm gonna I'm going to throw for another 2 years and then just stop. I know people who have said that, and then they've went and thrown PBs in that last year.
All depends on
So
how you
if
feel, how
you
it's
throw a
going.
PB and you threw the best that you've ever done in that year, then why would you stop? Why would you not do another year? So why I enjoy it. Also, like, javelin's part of the main goal, yes, but I really enjoy training. Like, it's healthy. It's good for you. It's something to do. I've never really been somebody who, like, games a lot. I don't have a PC. I don't actually even have a TV. I've just got a laptop and my phone. Yeah, granted, I watch films and YouTube videos and stuff and, like, procrastinate that way. But being active is what I prefer to do. There's never really a reason to not do sport.
So not to make it cliche, but it's a lifestyle rather than just a
sort
hobby
of,
or even a job or a career.
Yeah, it's something that you should always be doing. That's kind of why I do what I do for work. I never really wanted an office job. Not that I wouldn't do it. If I had to do it, I would do it. Like, but that's not to say that that's what I want to do. Like, if I need to do that to make money, to work for people and to provide, then yeah, I'll do it. But if I don't have to, why should I? I don't need to get a real job. Like, my job is a real job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, stay active, keep doing sport, and then kind of, why would you stop anyway? Like, what are you going to do? Just sit on the sofa and not do anything? Sounds great. Why do that when you can come to the woods and, like, eat stuff and then be fit and healthy to do stuff? Like, go out on trips. Like, my dad's done the same. He's stayed fit, healthy. What was it, 2 or 3 years ago? He climbed Mount Everest.
Did he actually? Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah, he's to base camp.
Like that, yeah.
Was it last year? He did Kachinjunga. That's definitely not how you say it.
Well, yeah, Kachinjunga.
Okay, cool,
I really shouldn't get that wrong, being Nepalese. I think that is technically on the Chinese side, but
yeah. So he did that like the other year.
How did I not know this? How did you not tell me this?
I'm sure I told you.
No, you didn't tell me this.
It's probably like a mid-training session or something.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, he's done that. So, like, he keeps
how old's
fit.
your dad?
Oh, that's a good question, mate. It's about 60 or something.
And he climbed Mount Everest 2 or 3 years ago.
Yep, pretty much.
He did Kachinjunga last year.
I think it was last year.
So for people listening, Mount Everest is obviously the tallest mountain in the world. Kachinjunga is one of the other 8,000 meter peaks in the Himalayas. These are incredible accomplishments. Something that's, these are incredibly tough mountains to climb. The fatality rates are very real.
Yeah,
I can't believe I
think
didn't know this.
The day before he got to base camp, I think 4 people died at base camp, which I think is just a common occurrence. Like, it's not.
Yeah, it is. If you go to climb one of those mountains, you're a fool if you haven't got in the back of your mind, there's a real chance.
You're signing yourself up for something that's rogue.
Wow. I mean, we'll have to continue this discussion kind of full on after this, but I'd love to talk to you dad sometime. That'd be amazing.
So, like, he's kept fit. So, like, and there's plenty of people that come to our gym that are way older than me. They keep fit. They're doing way better. Studies even show that from the age of 90, you can still gain muscle mass and do better than you would do if you weren't doing any resistance training. So, yeah, sport's not going to be. It's not like you're going to turn 36. Do you think you should stop doing sport? No. Why? Why would you?
Yeah. No, I agree.
If you enjoy it, you keep doing it. If you don't enjoy it, though, and you start not enjoying it, then yeah, probably stop.
Yeah. And even then, like, you might stop competing as a javelin thrower, but that doesn't mean you're going to stop exercising each day, training in general.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I might be less competitive, but who knows? I might still throw in another 10 years time.
Yeah. What kind of is considered the average prime age for a javelin thrower?
28 to 32.
Yeah.
Give or take. Some people throw longer. Not many people throw past 38, though. You won't get, not at, like, the most elite level. But you can't say that's because of one thing or another. It could be because of responsibilities. It might not be physicalities. People at that age often have kids. that are probably approaching being a teenager. That's going to be more of a challenge. So yeah, and then you've obviously got to provide for them more. They cost more. Kids, obviously at that age, you've got to buy more things, and so that could be a reason why people tend to stop more rather than it being a physical attribute. Just depends what it is you really do, to be honest.
Yeah, there's lots of variables to it, isn't there?
Yeah. So yeah. Plus it is fun. Like, you meet loads of people. I feel like it gives you a lot of extra like life skills. It teaches you how to be alone. It teaches you how to interact with others. It teaches you failure. Teaches you success. Yeah. So in that way, I feel like sport helps you be mentally tougher. Although obviously it can make and break you. Like, yes, if you have something really bad happen to you and you can't do your sport, yeah, it can really knock you down. But you should also be able to learn to be able to deal with that. Like, if you're not going to win everything all the time.
Goes back to what you said before. There's a silver lining to everything if you can.
Yeah. Like, if an injury stops you, you can find something else, or you can try again, or I don't know. You can always find something. You don't have to be negative about everything. Glass full, innit?
Mm-hmm.
Or empty, or half full. I don't think it really matters. I'd rather some drinking it.
Before we transition more into this side of things, the camping, the bushcraft, all that stuff, I want to ask, it's kind of like a final point on javelin throwing.
Yeah, that's right.
I think everybody likes being able to throw a ball far, being able to throw something far. There's something quite primal about that. So share with us, as Scotland's #1 javelin thrower, the 3 best exercises other than actually throwing things that people can do in order to get a better arm, get a better throw on them.
Pullovers, if they're a bit of a struggle, tricep pull downs, walking lunges or squats.
Okay, and that's just because of the lower body translation.
Yeah. So walking lunges, squats, pullovers, and med ball slams.
As in just straight up overhead into the ground or into a wall?
Full into the. You can do it overhead into a wall if you can, wherever you are, which is similar to a pullover movement anyway. But yeah.
Okay.
That'd probably be alright.
Lat pulls, tricep press downs, pull downs.
Pullovers, so not lat pulls. It's like a kind of like that. You all the way back.
Pullovers.
Yeah, pretty much. Pullovers and then squats or lunges. I prefer lunges because you don't need to do as much weight, so it's safer. Although it's not safer, but
I get what
safer for your body.
Yeah.
If you once you build up to doing it better, but
that's cool. There we are. If people want to throw further, they're the exercises for the job.
And then just repetition of throwing,
actually doing the thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've already touched on it a lot, actually. And I was going to ask how you got into doing this kind of thing. Just to fill people in that are watching or listening, you've been out here all night
for 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks. Well, but you
we're
come
out here, day 52 in the jungle.
The real Bear Grylls.
I don't drink my own piss. That's the pass.
Okay.
I'm not doing that.
No.
I guess I kind of got into it just because we've always done it. We've done it on holidays. We've gone camping, fishing holidays. I've always loved fishing.
You grew up with this.
Yeah.
This wasn't a new thing that you had to kind of navigate your way into.
No, not really. Through watching more YouTube, it's kind of got me into it more. There's a couple of guys I watch on YouTube which I quite like. And 2 different people have said 2 different things. One of them was that if you enjoy something a lot, why not do it more? So I kind of used to only go like fishing and camping in summer because it's nice. It's warm, it's easy. But if I only get to do that in summer, bear in mind I compete, I only get 1 month a year to do that. So after they kind of said that, and they're doing a lot of like winter camping, so I was watching that sort of stuff. Kind of got into more doing that, and then going out and doing it, getting the right equipment. Yeah, I've made loads of mistakes, loads and loads and loads of mistakes. And I still make loads of mistakes.
Share them with us. What are kind of like the top big fumbles? Because you're out here on your own. Like, obviously, you've got a phone, but you haven't got a tent in this instance.
No.
You've got a flint to make the fire, but it's not like you've got a gas stove with you.
Yeah, that was a
This is
learning
very
process.
self-sufficient. Sorry.
So it's just sort of like plan for the worst, hope for the best. Most of the time, I try to pack lighter all the time as well. So like I have got a gas stove with me in case, because this is a new place. I've not been here before. Um, so like you plan in case you can't do something, and then you plan for the weather so that you're not going to be either too cold or too wet. So you plan for that as well. So as long as you plan well, it's kind of all right. But then even that, you still make mistakes. You still forget stuff. A big mistake we made before is not drinking enough water when we were on a 3-day trip, thinking that we'd find a water source and walking past lots of water sources because we didn't want to carry the water until we got to a camp. Got to the camp, there was no water sources, so we had to go all the way back to them. And by that time, we were very dehydrated, not eating enough. We did that once at the same trip, just because we couldn't get a fire going in the first night. Hadn't brought gas. We're like, oh yeah, we got really good at starting fires now. Because it was soaking wet. Just got so tired, it was dark, and like, yeah, fuck, let's just go to bed. But we did sort of plan for that. We did have some food. We just didn't eat the food that we were meant to eat. And then just like always making mistakes, like trying to set up things properly. It sometimes takes longer, so you plan for that. Like the setup that I've used last night, I've never used that before, so that took me a few goes to try and get it right. When I was out over Christmas on Christmas Eve, it was like stupidly windy, and I had in my mind what I wanted to do, and it was so hard. I try to set up a tarp when it's blowing like 50-mile-an-hour gusts. Not the most fun. Got very, very frustrated, and actually gave up setting up a tarp. And then decided, all right, I'm just going to take some time. I'll go and I'll get the fire ready, get that started, and then my brain will process the problem. It will solve the problem whilst I'm doing the fire, and then that will come to me, and then I'll go and fix it. And it did. Fixed it, set it up properly, and it was perfectly fine. But more like just more experience gives you more help. Figuring out what you need to look for, learning stuff, so you know what not to look for, or what to do and what not to do. For example, finding dry wood, important for starting a fire. Finding the right type of wood for the start, middle, and during the fire to last longer. Yeah, it's all just learning. Some of the other things we've done wrong is having the wrong equipment. So I camped out last January in -6. It was meant to be -2.
Jesus.
It was meant to be -2, but it went down to -6 because it was a clear night, basically. Inside the tent was freezing. I just got a new tent to go and try it out. The floor mat I had kept deflating because it was too cold and wasn't insulated. Didn't know that, so I kept blowing it up all night, so I didn't sleep. I was warm enough because I had 2 sleeping bags, but like that's a little bit of a sort of a mistake you could make. Yeah, having the right gear is quite important. And then obviously nothing's really gone that wrong. Like I've been out and I've injured my knee, but it's never been too far. But like having like a contingency plan in case it does. So if you're either going out with somebody, yeah, that's kind of okay because it's 2 of you. If something goes wrong, you still need to tell a third person around about where you're going, send them a location or something. Because then if anything does go tits up, then you have a safety. But that can happen in any scenario. People always think, oh, you're out in the woods, oh, it must be really difficult and all this, that, and the other. But if you think, say, you're going on a long drive somewhere, you get a flat tire, and you don't know how to fix it, your insurance might not cover it, or they won't come out for a day, you've got to stay somewhere, or you don't have phone signal, exactly, you're in the exact same place that I am here, I just don't have a car nearby.
Yeah.
But I kind of like that. I like the challenge of stuff. That's why I come out and do more in winter, because I like challenges. Guess something that's going to come hand in hand with sport. So sometimes the worse it is, the more fun it is. And to be honest, when me and my mate James have gone out, every time where we've made more and more mistakes or the weather's been horrendous, they're the times we remember. I don't remember any of the times we've gone out and it's been easy, because it's just normal.
The fun's in the struggle.
Yeah. Making
all
mistakes.
The memories in the struggle.
Yeah, the memories in the struggle and like making the memories. The same with your sport as well. You don't remember every single like averagely good performance. You remember the ones that were either horrendous well, yeah, it's not quite like that bad because being horrendous is not great. And then you
But
remember the ones that are really,
definitely
really
remember
good,
those.
but you
You
do
do remember
remember
the
them.
horrendous. Yeah.
And then like character building's a good way of putting it. And then just like looking at the bright side, like everything's always usually fine unless something goes really bad. I mean, obviously there's that story in the news a few months ago before Christmas about those 4 boys in Wales. It was very unfortunate. That obviously didn't go too
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Um,
They died on a mountain, didn't they?
they were driving and the car was in a reservoir or a lake or something.
Oh, was it?
Or
Okay.
something like that.
Maybe
But
I'm
yeah,
thinking of a different story.
originally the story came out as that they were going out hiking. There was 4 of them, and then the news reported they found the car, but the boys were missing. But then it turns out they were apparently in the car, and all of them were
Okay.
gone.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
you,
I mean,
you raise
obviously
a good
that's like
point.
a very, very bad
Yeah.
scenario.
Things can go wrong, but things can go wrong, you know,
Things can go
in the modern world,
yeah.
in society. You can crash your car,
Yeah.
you can
So,
get
like,
stranded somewhere, and you know you can get pickpocketed, not have your wallet, not have your phone.
yeah, exactly. So, like, I mean, in all seriousness, these circumstances and situations, I feel quite safe. I plan ahead. I do make sure I've got enough food and water. And if it's going to be a longer trip, you just plan it properly. Like the 40 miles I did with my dad, I planned it and planned stops. I planned places where if we needed to, we could pick up more food or water. And it was fine. So, yeah, good
No.
good way to keep building yourself and how to do stuff. Practice.
I've seen from some of your trips in the woods some really beautiful photos of different fungi, different mushrooms.
Yes.
Do you actually eat those? Do
Yeah.
you forage them to eat?
Yeah, some of them, yeah.
Yeah, and that must be kind of a bit of a Russian roulette.
No, it's not actually. It's really not that complicated. Again, that's another thing people really kind of don't like to think about.
Because you're always told growing up, don't you? You don't eat mushrooms that you find in the woods.
There's only like 3 maybe that can kill you, but you'd have to eat a lot of them.
Okay, so
like,
it's an overblown.
Most of the time,
danger.
you'll get a bit of like bad stomach, bit of shit, bit thrown up.
You get that from a kebab shop.
Yeah, you could do. Yeah, obviously there is some you should stick away from, but you have one. Everybody has one rule if you forage, and it's if you're not 100% certain, you don't eat it. That's it. If you're 99.9 recurring percent sure it's something, you don't eat it.
Okay, so there's a lot of research and
Yeah.
Knowledge gathering that you have to take care of before you actually come out and start foraging and eating.
Well, actually, that's the last New Year's resolution I made. I didn't make one last year. I've not really made one this year. So 2 years ago I made that, and it was to learn. So I went out every weekend to the woods to walk around and just to find with a little book and identify stuff. I started off with a little, it was like Eat for Free book or something, which had like 10 mushrooms in it. Couldn't find any of them. So I got another book that had more in it because I kept finding some that weren't in the book. I found out loads of different mushrooms. So there's some that are great for fires. There's some that can hold an ember for 8 hours. So you just walk with it. So if I want to take this fire somewhere, I would put that in the mushroom, walk with it, and keep blowing on it, and I'd have an ember to start a fire.
What mushroom's that?
So that's like the horseshoe fungus. They're very common. None here. You get another one which you can use as a plaster. So if you cut yourself, you've got a plaster in the woods. You can use it to sharpen knives after you dry it out. You can drink it as a tea, which is really good for you because it's like got loads of antioxidants and all that kind of stuff in it.
It's nature's toolkit, isn't it? This is what we used to use before we had everything we do now.
Yeah, so that's the other thing that one of the guys said that made me do this a bit more. Was that like everybody always says, "Oh, you're going out and you're getting back in touch with nature," but this guy's like, "Well, no, you don't need to get back in touch with nature. You are nature. You should always be in touch with it." Like it was like a weird general term for like humans not thinking they're part of nature. They think they're just part of like a society, a city, a town.
We're detached from it.
Whereas
It was something that used to be our habitat.
Yeah, it used to be a thing that Neanderthals used to do that. But like, why would you not still be able to do that? There's so much food out here that you can get that you don't need to go to Tesco's and buy a salad. It's out here, and it tastes nicer as well most of the time. But like, you should like you're a human. That doesn't mean you're not an animal. You are still an animal. Yeah, we talk and think better than other animals. That doesn't mean you're not still part of it.
We've developed
So,
a great deal of arrogance, I think, that we're somehow
um,
better than animals because we can sit behind laptops and
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
develop this piece of AI, and obviously, you know, I mean, we are in an incredible place. You know, it should be celebrated.
Yeah.
The point that humanity's been able to get to,
yeah,
but yeah, to then think that we're somehow detached from the world, that we're no longer part of nature, that is somehow some other world, I think is very arrogant. And to think that we're not animals. Take away your phone, take away your computer, take away all your technology. What are you? You're just
exactly.
another
Yeah,
animal here in the
you're
woods.
just another normal thing. Like, it's not, you're nothing special. So yeah, why not just keep doing it?
No.
Plus, again, it's fun.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And you've said that a lot. Think about, you know, I think your why for a lot of things, maybe everything you do in life, is you enjoy doing it. It's fun.
yeah.
And obviously you gain benefit from it. You talk about how the challenges that you come across out here, challenges in athletics, how they ultimately teach you something, you learn from them, and
Yeah.
to get better as a result. So I was going to ask you why you do this. I think, you know, we've got the kind of base points. It's fun, you enjoy doing it, it's challenging, so you get something out of it.
Yeah.
But why this? And I suppose, you know, part of the answer is you grew up with it, but there's lots of ways to challenge yourself. So do you think there really is something, you know, deeper within that attracted you to coming out here to the woods as opposed to, I don't know, doing some kind of other activity? You know, somewhere
That's a
nice and
good
warm
question.
inside within human society. Because, you know, I think everyone knows my standpoint at this point. I'm just a big believer that we do, and again, it's using that term, which is a bit of a silly term. I do think we need to get back to nature. I do think we've forgotten where we've come from, and there's so much that we can learn out here. And this is going to sound very apocalyptic.
It sounds weird you saying learn, because it's something that we shouldn't have forgotten.
That's it. And I think more than learn, it's kind of rediscover, because I think it's innate in us.
I mean, there's lots of people who do it. It doesn't seem very common in Britain.
Well, that's it. You're the only
Europe
person I know that I actually know on a personal level that does it. So it is something that
maybe
I would
not
say
the
is
camping
fairly
and
rare.
stuff, but like if you look at like Germany or like the Scandinavian countries, they all go out foraging.
Yeah,
they all
that's
learn
not
it,
something we do in this country.
and it's like it's normal, and they know how to do it, and they go by the rules that you use to do it, and it makes sense. Whereas for some reason here we don't do it as much.
Yeah.
But
what I was going to say as well is it sounds quite apocalyptic-y. But I think everyone should kind of have like some kind of contingency plan in their mind that, you know what I mean, your home might not be there one day. Society as we know it may not be here one day. Who knows where things are going to be like, or, you know, where things are going to be 75 years down the line.
I mean, that
you should have
yeah.
You should have some. I think you should have some kind of ability to be able to exist, survive, and if possible, thrive out here.
Yeah, I mean,
woods,
like that is
obviously
always a bit exciting, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh,
you know, I mean, it's a fun thing to
end.
think about. It's kind of almost conspiratorial in nature. It's fun to think, yeah, what happens if society breaks down and we have to retreat back to the woods, the forests?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll ever happen. But
yeah, I don't. So maybe it's just
Yeah.
kind of a fantasy you indulge. But my point is, you may be at a point in your life through unforeseen circumstances where you are without a home, and it won't hurt you having the skills to be able to forage, make a fire.
Exactly. So,
you know,
it's good
sleep out under a tree, under a fallen tree, these kinds of things. Yeah, it's very interesting to me, and I think
bacon wrap.
I won't say no to that.
Bacon wraps.
Thank you.
I don't know where I put the ketchup though.
I think it's something that people
there you
should
go.
kind of.
Ketchup.
Thank you very much. Look into a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. And like I said before, it's like, to me, it's something that's quite good to switch off from everything. Like I've obviously come out here and it's, what issues have I got? I don't know. My shoulder's still bothering me now and then. But I can sort of come out here and not worry about anything other than like doing what I need to do to have food, to sleep well, and to have a bit of fun. So
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of that's probably the main reason to do it. Why I've picked this over I don't know, going bowling every weekend. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I probably because I've grown up with it, enjoy it. I like to learn still, so like this gives me something new to learn. But yeah, I know. I don't know. I don't know what I would pick otherwise to do. Yeah, become a champion food eater, maybe. I don't know. Probably not. I can't eat that much. But yeah, no, it's just good fun, isn't it? So
Where can people go to watch all of this through their screen in their
so
nice cozy bed, as
a
opposed to
cozy
being
bed.
out here and joining you in person?
So that's sort of funny. Like that's sort of kind of a New Year's resolution that I sort of was gonna make this year. But I kind of just started it early because I kind of thought, well, why am I putting it off? I enjoy doing it. I want to do it, so I'm going to do it. Why just start now or earlier? So it was kind of to start posting this sort of stuff on my Instagram, start like a YouTube channel for it, and then post stuff on there. Just mainly because I don't know, who knows? You never know what something might turn into. Much like you with these podcasts. Do you know where they're going? Do you know where you want them to go? Is this like a long-term thing? Is it a short-term thing? So I kind of saw this as like, I enjoy my athletics. I also enjoy this. I won't do athletics forever. I can do this for longer. If I start doing something on YouTube now, I don't need anything from it now, so there's no pressure. But what if in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, this becomes something bigger? And then what if that becomes something I make an income from? And then what if I don't have to work? And what if I get to just do this? What a win that would be, wouldn't it?
Sounds good to me.
But again, there's no pressure on that. I have a job. I'm training just now. It's not something that I need to do this year, next year, the year after that. It's something for 5-10 years time, maybe. So there's no pressure on it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't matter. But I enjoy doing it, so I'm going to win anyway. If other people enjoy watching it, then they can win. If that's how it is, then that's how it is. It doesn't have to become something. But yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Straight.
And before we finish, you mentioned Instagram, YouTube. What are those so people can come and watch?
So my Instagram is Greg Throws. I'm mainly just keeping that to normal stuff. But every Sunday I will post one video for something outdoors. And the YouTube channel is GM Outdoors, which
GM
I also
Outdoors.
yeah. I also made a TikTok. Don't know why. Got pressured into that from some people at the gym who are 10 years younger than me. Not sure if I want to do a TikTok, but there you go. It's the same as the YouTube
If they want to add you on TikTok, what's the TikTok?
It's the same as the YouTube channel. So GM Outdoors, yeah.
That's brilliant. I'd highly recommend everyone give those videos a watch. And not just give them a watch, are they welcome to come out here?
Yeah,
join you in person?
Yeah.
Do that. Come out here. I thought he was maybe going to dismember me with his axe and put me on the campfire, but thankfully I've been given this bacon wrap instead.
You haven't tasted it yet, though, so.
Cheers, Greg.